Good old Dave Ramsey gave me some great advice. He says the best way to buy a house, his favorite way, is with the 100% down payment method, which basically means here at the closing table, I'm gonna be buying this next house cash. And it kind of begs the question, like, is it a good idea to buy a house cash, like saving for all those years so that when you buy it, you can buy it cash? Good idea, bad idea? Today we're gonna find out.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Alrighty, well, I couldn't go through with it. I thought that I should make this video first and really look at the pros and cons of buying a house with cold hard cash. Is it a good idea? Is it a dumb idea? Buying a home with cash is an increasingly uncommon occurrence, and rising home prices outpacing income growth are part of the reason why. The median home sales price is currently over $428,000, making it difficult even for the most diligent of savers to pull together enough cash to buy their home outright. It took me 14 months to save up like $5,000 when I bought my first tiny little bungalow with my wife. And I'll tell you another thing. When I think of buying my first home cash, I'm not even sure at my age if I still would have achieved it. I mean, all of my wealth was ignited from taking little bits of money and learning how to invest it to turn it into a lot of money. Just buying something cash, I don't know how reasonable that is. What I can tell you from the National Association of Realtors is that 87% of purchases made in 2022 were made with loans. That means that there were 13% that were actually done in cash. And you might be wondering, like, okay, Kris, like, can I actually take actual cash, go to a closing table and say, here you go, I'm all in, I want to buy this house cash? Does it even work that way? No, we actually do these things with like wire transfers. But yes, essentially whatever hard-earned savings you've made, you could technically go and buy a home cash. A cash buyer is someone who is using their own funds to cover the full purchase price of the home rather than using a bank and getting a loan, meaning they're not going to take out a loan at all. These funds could come from savings, investments, the sale of another property. And so what I want to do right now is I actually want to take a look at what are the benefits of actually buying a home cash, and are there benefits of actually not buying a home cash? We're going to figure it out right now. So let's first start by looking at the pros of buying a home cash. The number one pro has definitely got to be all of the money that you're going to save on interest. For example, I want you to think of a $300,000 home. And let's just say that you are going to get a 6% interest rate on it. Well, the way it's amortized, you make your payments over 30 years, 360 payments over 30 years, and you don't actually pay $300,000 for the home, which is the cost. You see, that's the principal, but on top of that, you have to pay the interest. So over 30 years to get that $300,000 home paid off, you're going to pay $300,000 that goes towards the principal of the home. But on top of that, in interest, you're going to pay $347,514.57, which means that at a 6% loan, you're basically going to pay a little more than double. So if you do go through the painstaking process of saving your money to buy cash, what you're going to save is a ton of money in interest. Not having a monthly housing payment is a phenomenal perk. Paying in cash means you get to skip the mortgage process, all the costs, the fees that come with it, including interest rates, mortgage insurance. Basically, that hassle's all gone. And it's like, that was really simple, that was easy. And guess what? Not only am I going to save all that money, I don't have a house payment. And remember, a house payment is a person's number one expense on average. And all of a sudden with that gone, think about how much money that you can save from your job. Now it's like, well, before we were saving like $500 a month, we don't have a $2,000 mortgage. Now we're saving $2,500 a month. It's a big deal. The other perks kind of aren't that exciting, but there's a couple that I can think of. The second one is when you go through the buying process, if you are all cash, you kind of have some negotiation power depending on timing in the market, because an all cash offer is really attractive to someone that's trying to sell their house. Think about the person that owns the house, they're trying to sell it, and what are they morose about? They're like, I don't know, like this person wants to buy my house, but it's an FHA loan and I kind of hope they'll qualify, and I don't know, it didn't have a pre-qualification letter and they only gave me $500 of earnest money, so if the deal falls out in 45 days, like they're out $500, but I lost 45 days of just trying to sell my house on the market. Versus someone that comes along and says, oh, hey, I want to buy your home cash in 7 days. You're thinking, yeah, that's definitely a better offer. And you've got a few other perks, because if you're buying cash, there's all sorts of other fees you don't have to worry about. Lower closing costs, you get a faster closing process, you have a simpler closing process, but most importantly, the house is yours. The peace of mind of knowing you'll always have a roof over your head can be definitely one of the biggest and most consequential benefits of buying a home with cash. And I'm kind of curious, like, people that do these all cash purchases, isn't that maybe what it's really about for them? It's about managing their emotions. It's about peace of mind. It's just this feeling of like, I don't know, I don't have a payment. Like, so something really bad could happen. I could even lose my job, but the likelihood of losing my house is really low because guess what? Like, I'm mortgage free. It's gotta be a good feeling. I almost got you convinced, right? Like, Kris, this is a good thing. I gotta go for this. There's a reason why people are following Dave Ramsey and spending years and decades saving up money to buy their house cash. But there is something that you lose. Have you figured out what it is? So I'm sitting in Econ 110 in my college days, and there was this principle that kept coming up called opportunity cost. And it was this idea of what am I foregoing? What am I missing out on with the current choice that I'm making? And you have to think opportunity cost when you think of what you're doing when you're buying a home cash. Because the first disadvantage of doing that is that you're going to take all the money that you've been saving up for such a long time, and it's just sitting there just waiting to finally go into this house, this asset that's going to be paid off. But what could I have been doing with the money in the meantime? Like, time is your greatest asset. Did it take you 10 years or 15 years to save up all the money to buy it cash? What could your money have been doing in the meantime? I mean, if it's sitting in a savings account, it's earning 0.0 nothing percent, right? I mean, it's weird, but banks give you a dum-dum when you leave. And that's because you're stupid. They're gonna take your money and lend it out at 50x that on 5% and 8% loans. They like share nothing with you. You could have your money sitting in like an annuity or something in the stock market, maybe producing a safe 3, 4, 5%. But there are other things that you could do. Like, what if I told you, for example, that the last 6,000 homes I bought with a minimum annual ROI of 25%. And that 25% ROI grows money 27 times faster than a 401k, an IRA, or something sitting in the stock market. So by making the choice of buying a home cash, you're missing out on the next best opportunity that you could have made with the money. Could I have used it to buy a franchise that literally doubled my money every year? Well, shoot, I could pay off the house in like 3 or 4 years, let alone like trying to save up for paying it off in 15 years. But there are other opportunities that you miss out on. 2008, people think that was the worst time to be in real estate. That was arguably the best time of the last 2 decades. I mean, I was buying $300,000 homes for $100 grand on the court steps cash. I think about what happened during the pandemic, and real estate just soared and just doubled over a couple of years in value. What if after all those years of saving up, it's time to buy and you're gonna buy your house cash, but the market is off, the market is wrong? Think about all the things that you're missing out on. Because your money is tied up in the house, when you pay for a house, so let's just do a deep dive on what it means to pay for a house cash and why this can be such a big disadvantage. When you pay for your house cash, you're putting a large portion of your money into an asset that is fairly illiquid. It means that you can't very easily get your money out of it. I mean, you could get a home equity line of credit, but that's also contingent, for example, on having a job. If you don't have a job and you can't make your home equity payments, they're not going to give you a line of credit. Consider your objectives and whether your cash could be utilized more effectively elsewhere before buying a home outright. It may be better in the long run to use cash for more spread out investing. It might be better to use that cash in the long run for other long-term investments or other things that actually push out gains. Because what are you really trying to avoid when you buy cash? You're trying to avoid a mortgage where on your 30-year average, you're probably looking at 6%. By all intents and measurements, that's a very inexpensive amount of money. 6% is one thing. If I can put it in a business earning 100% or 1,000%, if I can put it in other real estate earning 25%, beating that 6% is pretty easy to do. So why am I working so hard to avoid such cheap money? Here's another one. You know what I can do with $300,000? You can buy your house cash. I can go buy 4 houses. You might be thinking, well, Kris, why would I want to buy 4 houses? Why would I want to have 4 $75,000 down payments versus $300,000 cash? Well, I'll tell you why. It's that if you take a look at the 65-year average on real estate, it goes up on average 4.65% every year. So if my $300,000 house that I bought cash goes up 4.65, or we'll just call it 5%, that's $15,000. It's like my house appreciated 15 grand this year. But if I bought 4 houses with a $75,000 down payment on each one of them, I could actually experience appreciation of $15,000 on each of the 4 houses. That's $60,000. Also, they're rented out, so now I have positive cash flow coming off of them. Also, there's tax benefits so that my taxable income So whatever my taxable income is shrinking dramatically. And it's like, wait a second here. Is Kris Krohn saying that there's a lot more money to make by actually managing debt versus eliminating it? Yeah, if you focus on acquiring debt that makes you money, you'll always be better off than just paying off consumer debt. Which brings me to the second point. You realize that you get to write off all that mortgage interest, which is a lot, which is probably going to be one of your top tax deductions. That goes poof, it's gone the moment you buy a home cash. If you itemize your deductions, you could be missing out on the mortgage interest deduction, which allows homeowners with a mortgage to deduct interest paid on the first $750,000 of their mortgage, reducing their taxable income dramatically. So you pay off your house, you lose that. Well, it's time for the verdict. We've looked at the pros, we've looked at the cons, and here's what I want to share with you. There's a definition that I use in life for knowing when to pay something off or not. And it has to do with what the real goal is. Is having a paid off home your goal, or is becoming financially secure your goal? Because technically paying off your house does add security, but it doesn't give you total security, right? It's like, okay, if my house is paid off, I still can't eat the bricks. I still have to have money for groceries and spending and for all my other expenses and travel needs and adventures and things that I want to do with my life. But wouldn't it be more financially secure to have a passive income of, call it $5,000 a month? Because you think about it, it's just like my mortgage on $300,000. I want my house paid off so I can have a level of security. But you tell me, what would you rather have? Would you rather have all of your debts wiped out, or would you rather have $5,000 coming in guaranteed every month for the rest of your life? Well, when I look at $300,000, I can do two things with it. I can pay all this stuff off and be debt free, or I can invest it wisely, take calculated risks, and go for making $5,000 a month. Arguably, $5,000 a month is enough to not just pay the mortgage on $300,000, but also your other expenses, in which case you're better off with a passive income rather than no debt. So here's my definition. The time to pay off not just your house, the time to pay off all debts is when you've taken the opportunity cost of taking this money, and instead of paying stuff off, you've actually used it to buy real estate, you buy businesses, you buy assets that make you money. And when the money that they pay you is enough to cover all your bills, now go pay your house off. Why? Because it's a higher level of security than no debt. Well, today's video may have felt a little bit like a grenade, because financially, if you don't manage your money the right way, it can blow up in your face. Similarly, if you already have a paid off house, or if you've been thinking of paying off your house, I invite you to subscribe and learn more from me, because you have superior alternatives. The money that you've got towards that paid off house, I would use it instead to buy investment grade real estate that produces at least 25% a year on your money or more. Do you know why? Because your money can double literally every 2 or 3 years, and that's never gonna happen in a paid off house. You may wind up with a lot more than you bargained for, a lot more security, not just a paid off house, but what if it led to 20 paid off houses? What if it led to a residual income that made you feel so safe and secure you never needed to have a job? Well, I partner with people all over the world that watch videos just like this that say, okay, Kris, prove it to me. And then I say, here's my track record on $2 billion worth of real estate that I've been doing this way. And yes, I can outperform a paid off mortgage so many times that literally it's 27 times more money over 20 years than just paying something off. If you want to look into what partnering really looks like, click the link below and fill out for a free consultation and say, okay, Kris Krohn claims that he can make 25% a year on his money through safe and secure real estate. Prove it to me, show me the thousands of deals, and let me do that. Click the link below, learn about this opportunity cost alternative that could save your bacon in the end. Well, you did a good job, you hung in there. If you look at how controversial this video was, I've got an even better one for you, because I will never, ever, ever actually pay things off. In fact, I would never pay off the mortgage. I would go in the opposite direction. And if you want to know the math and the scientific reasons why, click right here and let me prove it to you.